Hey there. Welcome, civilians. You've arrived at the home of civilized and thought-provoking commentary. Get ready for elevation, growth, and experience. I am the civilized woman.
I cheated on my ex-husband with Chad. I didn't say cheat because I mentally checked out.
I understand. So you were almost done with that relationship.
I was done.
So you were
I
done
was
with
mentally
that
checked out. And I grew an emotional attach. So it was like I was already sexually, physically attracted to him. So it just made it even better.
But see, that doesn't feel like tit for tat. It just feels like you was done and somebody else caught your attention.
But at the age I'm at now, I felt like it was wrong because I should have ended that relationship fully.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was younger, and at that time, I was focused on myself and trying to get over everything that I went through. And if I would go back, I probably wouldn't have did what I did, but it happened. I can't go back and change it.
Does that affect your relationship now?
With us?
Yeah.
Of course.
So do you feel like Chad may not trust you as much because he knows you was with another?
I wouldn't say it doesn't affect Chad and our relationship because I told him the reason why I did what I did. But it does affect my ex-husband and our relationship. We do have a child together, and
So we are co-parenting.
and it does affect a lot. We don't communicate at all.
Yeah.
I bought my son a phone. That's how we communicate. But it's hard to really explain to him because as a man, their pride is very hard. It's like,
I understand.
you basically, I took care of things you should have, but they don't see what they do. They just look at what you do, that one thing that you do, and you're the worst person ever.
Yeah.
Welcome back, civilians. How y'all doing? I'm hoping that your Saturday is going well. Listen, the snippet that you heard prior to me starting my commentary was of Sharelle Rosado, who is Chad Ochocinco's ex-fiancé, talking about how she and Chad got together and expressing that it was a cheatation that sparked on their relationship. And I'm going to explain to y'all later on why I found it important to put this snippet in there. It really is the foundation of my commentary today because the reality is Chad was never going to marry Sharelle. Even though he proposed, he was never going to marry Sharelle. What brings us here today is that in October, she announced their split. Nobody really knew what had gone on. Well, it's been recently rumored that the reason for their split was infidelity on Chad's part. She caught Chad in their bed with another woman. Their bed, as in the bed that Chad and Sharelle slept in, their bed. She caught him in that bed with another woman. Not to mention it was recorded, so it's on camera. That's allegedly the reason for their split. And this was according to Atlanta Black Star. And then I saw in another article by a website called aceshowbiz.com that this is not only the first time that he's cheated on her before, even with people that she know. And all of that was, I guess she was willing to let all of that go, but this time it was caught on camera, and I guess it was a bridge too far for her, and that is why they ended it. Now, you would think that, okay, why would you not only cheat on your fiance that you and whom have a 2-year-old child together, but in your bed where you lay with her and then is recorded on camera? That's kind of brazen, right? That's real brazen to do that. So why would anybody do that? That don't make no sense. Bad enough that you've allegedly cheated on her before, but for it to be recorded in the bed that you laid in, what did you think was going to be the results of that? In my opinion, he did all that because he was never going to marry her. And he quite frankly needed to do something to put her in a position where she would have no choice but to break up with him. And that snippet that y'all heard at the beginning of the video is from a podcast that she has with two of her friends called Humble Baddies. And that particular, it was, I believe, the inaugural episode of the podcast, or maybe the second episode, where they were talking about cheating and she said some other things, but basically you heard she cheated on her ex-husband with Chad. And that was what led to her divorce. She said in the snippet about how, she had checked out emotionally and mentally, and I'm sure whatever the ex-husband may have done, she was already checked out of that relationship. She did express that she wished she would have ended that better because that has affected her and her ex-husband have a son together, and that has affected their co-parenting because she communicates with her son directly with the phone she got him. She and the ex-husband don't even talk. So that impacted their ability to co-parent. But I don't know how you can imagine cheating with the person. So Chad then has already demonstrated to you that he don't have an issue with cheating or being a cheater because he cheated with you while you were with somebody else. And I'm not sure where it was realistic to expect fidelity from him when he demonstrated that he has a propensity to not be faithful. Also, the reason why I say that Chad wasn't never going to marry her, and I say this a lot on my channel, but some of us women have a real difficult time understanding that men are not like us. They don't think like us. We can do things, they can do things that we cannot do and never can get away with, right? The fact that Sharelle cheated with Chad already put in his mind her capabilities of being able to do that. So she was already in a category for him that he wasn't going to be able to trust her to be faithful. Yes, they had a child together. Yes, he proposed to her. And based on seeing Sharelle, she really does look like a very intelligent and successful woman in her own right, which bodes well because if you know anything about Chad Ochocinco, he's very guarded with his money. He was very smart with his finances. He really was frugal. There's been reports that his first 2 years in the league, he started off playing he was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he stayed in the facilities for 2 years. Marvin Lewis finally had to say they had to kick him out of the facility. So he saved money that way. He's also notorious for saying that he does not wear real jewelry because you can't tell the difference. So he doesn't spend his money on all kinds of jewelry. He's not one of those dudes that trick on women. It's kind of like, with my status, they're going to want me anyway, so why would I waste my money on those women? Chad also has notoriously talked about his thought process behind procreating, right? He is pretty much breeding super athletes. Like all of his children, his older children, are athletic in some kind of way because he makes a point of having children with women who are also superior athletically as well. And I think too that is part of the attraction that he had to OG. If y'all remember OG from Basketball Wives, when her and Evelyn Lozada, Chad's ex-wife, had a showdown, right? Because I don't want to go down the road of colorism. We're not talking love and basketball, or Basketball Wives. We're talking about Chad and Sharelle and the reason why I think their situation went down, their breakup happened. But I say all that to say that he has an MO for the type of women he go after and the reason he goes after. And it looks like to me that Sharelle is really a good woman, despite the fact that she cheated on her ex-husband. She is very capable in her own rights and has her own notoriety, and she seems to be an accomplished real estate agent. and the other things that she do. So this was not somebody from a financial standpoint that I think Chad may have been concerned with trying to get in his pockets, because she has her own. And the way he handles his money, you're not just going to easily be able to access his fund and trick off him. That's not going to happen. Right. Now, I do notice that even though when Chad has children, he makes a point of having them with superiorly athletic women, and up to this point, all of his children have been, all of his children are by black women. When it's time to marry, he's either marrying a non-black woman or a woman who may look racially ambiguous. To me, Sharelle looks racially ambiguous, but that she's probably just regular black, but her look is racially ambiguous, right? So when he's ready to settle down, he's choosing. So again, that to me lends itself to his thought process and the kind of character that he has. He really makes moves as he sees fit. What works best for him and what's more advantageous for him in a given situation. And he was never going to marry her. Like, to go to the point where not only do you cheat, but to the ultimate coup de grace, to do it in your bed, and it be recorded. You were trying to get that lady to break up with you because you were never going to marry her. So I think Sharelle is going to have an uphill battle, because she's a beautiful woman and an accomplished woman, but because men just in general, and she has now put this out that how she ended her previous marriage, men are going to be cautious. She's going to be put in a particular box, so there's only so far that they're going to go with her based on her history and what she has demonstrated. Men do this kind of stuff all the time. What Sharelle did is not, she is not the worst human being in the world. She's not the worst woman in the world. Was it moral? No. Was it ethical? No. Was it wrong? Yes. But she didn't do anything that a lot of people don't do, unfortunately. The problem for her is she doesn't have the right gender to be able to get away with doing something like that. She's going to be held to a higher standard than Chad is, because there are always going to be women that are willing to get with Chad no matter what. I mean, even in her, when we found out about them being broken up, there were women already talking about oh great, I can get in his DMs, and she's like, go ahead, knock yourself out, don't ask me about him, we not together no more. Right? Always. We don't have the luxury of moving however we want. So as heartbreaking as it is, and as whack as it is, in my opinion, what Chad did, and how he did it, most importantly, we were always going to be down this road. They were always going to not make it to the finish line, even though they have a baby together. And it looks like he proposed to her on his birthday or his birthday party. They were. It was either this January or last January they got engaged. I'm thinking maybe last January. We were always going to be here. So, ladies, I always say this: we got to think about what we want and what kind of actions we need to take to move in that direction. Chad, this is not new. Chad has a history of being a cheater. Too many of us think that our honeypot is more magical than another woman's, and that the messed up stuff that a man may do to other women, somehow we're going to be able to escape that, and that's not always the case. These two do have a young child together, a little girl, beautiful little girl, who I believe turns 3 at the beginning of next year, excuse me. So I hope that they can find a way to effectively co-parent, regardless of what has gone down between them. And I think if it wasn't in their bed and it wasn't recorded, she might have been willing to let it slide, like reportedly she has done with the other ones. But again, this was just a bridge too far. So until next time, y'all, please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.